Hello everyone, Zelrinth here, and today I noticed on Prydwen they have updated their tier lists. So they're making it where there's now two separate tier lists, one for the you have the global and the CN, but now also a more generic tier list, as well as a tier list for doing bossing. One of the big things is, like with platoons, as we see, is a lot of people are starting to get to 60 at this point. You're going to need to build specific teams around being able to do as much damage as you can to the platoon boss. But then when it comes to the generic event content, or eventually when we get to the more difficult content in the future that they've talked about within their blog posts on the CN side of things, we may need more of a unit that's generically good on being able to clear enemies versus just being able to do a lot of single target damage. So it's nice that they split it up. And then the other big thing is they kind of changed the categories here. They have a core unit, core support, as well as a utility. And so looking at how they define them, core is your core damage dealers, the characters that serve as your centerpiece. And so I do like this one, hey, this is the unit that is your main unit of your team, and then you build around them. So this is kind of when you're trying to find your synergies amongst team members. These are going to be the core units. Now, I do see some of the units that are under core that can actually be core support, and I'll kind of mention that when we kind of take a look at the tier list here, because I may have some disagreements on it, at least at this point. So core support is core support characters enhance the performance of a core by providing specific buffs, debuffs, or resources tailored to amplify their strengths. Examples will include Springfield for Tololo. So yeah, Springfield basically makes it where Tololo can constantly do her double turn if you have her set up. Vector for your mod keyed QJ, Mekti for Prydwen Kluke. So that's the core. They're a core member of a specific team. And then utility characters provide niche abilities and add flexibilities. So I'm guessing what they're meaning by utility is these are the ones that aren't very specific to a team per se, and they can really fit anywhere, which I can see how they're going with that. Because Suomi, even though she's the ice and she's a kind of a core of your ice team, she can go in any team and just function and bring in that amazing shields, as we can currently see. So I kind of see the direction they're going with these. But some of these characters, at least now to me, are kind of a mix of the two. So I thought I kind of just we'll take a look at them. I'll give my thoughts on it. Overall, I think they have a lot of the characters in good places. And I did see some changes they did on the CN side, where they are not treating all of your elite units at V0. They look at some of them rating based on actually having a dupe or two. And so we'll kind of look at that, and I'll give my thoughts on whether it's a good idea to have that or not. I do think it is for some of them, but we'll see here in a second. So when we look at currently on Global right now, where they have the tier list, we have at the very top Macchiato, QJ, and Suomi on the generic. That absolutely makes sense there. Suomi is just that sustain. She is what has opened up our capabilities to pretty much auto everything that is not the very end game content, because those shields are so useful. And she's absolutely a top tier utility, and she will stay that just pretty much all the way up to where CN currently is, because it just makes it so much easier to do a lot more of the difficult content. It is nice that we started with her versus having to wait as long as CN did, because I do know if you're starting this game now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult not having that big extra sustain. Now, we do have Cinerisi coming up here soon, so those that did not start and missed Suomi, you will be able to get a top tier sustain to help with that here soon. So that'll be great there. But overall, I think this is a good position on the generic for the T0s. Macchiato is really good. Now, Macchiato is also, to me, can be utilized and will be really good until we get the full burn team as a core support of QJ. As we saw with this last platoon boss, Macchiato was really, really good paired with my QJ, because I pretty much could use my ultimate on my QJ every single turn, because Macchiato would do her counter attack to the boss, and that would trigger QJ. And she could do that if you had a even at V0, she can do her support actions twice, which then could trigger 2 of QJs. And then with my other units, that ensured that I could do all 4 of her support actions. And so to me, Macchiato is a core support unit of the burn team, at least until we start seeing the other units like Pari, and then whatever her name is, Chahua, the newest unit that they just received. Until then, Macchiato will be pretty core in my QJ team, just because of that alone. And then we got Tololo on here. So Tololo's down here as well as Diana. It makes sense. They can do big damage, and they have a lot of movement, so they're very useful in that aspect. But they're just not as good on the generic side because QJ, while she's good at single target, which you'll see on the bossing side, she's also good on multi-target because she triggers 4 attacks 4 times, and what I've seen in a lot of content is she can get 4 kills just by doing that. You have like your Suomi hit a unit, then QJ counters with a support action killing them, then maybe you have your Tololo hit an enemy, QJ finishes them off, so she can kill a lot of enemies on the generic side of things, as well as doing good damage to boss. While Tololo, she's good at right off the bat in being able to get around. She has 2 attacks, and generally on easier content, she can kill 2 of them. So it makes sense being here. It's just not currently as good as QJ. But that will change, and we'll see that on the CN side of things, because Tololo is insane once we have Springfield. You have Exina, however you want to say her name. Everybody tells me I say her name wrong. It's Exina, I believe, is what people want me to say. She's really good. Right now, she's really good with the burn team, as in providing those buffs to QJ. She has a little bit of healing within her, and she's the good one to pair with that team when you need 2 teams, because then you can use Suomi on the other team, because she's able to sustain enough. Because you really don't need much sustain when it's the DPS check bosses. So that makes sense for her. She is one of the best in terms of the standard units going into long-standing. Like, she'll be useful for a while, and kind of the same with Sharkri at that point as well. I mean, you have Dayan's pretty good here. Sharkri, I disagree on Sharkri being T1. I think she is a tier, and I guess, I mean, they're going by V6 too. I mean, they're rating all the standards based on being V6, and so Sharkri is 2, and Sharkri, I have her under core, but I feel she's basically a core support to QJ to me. Now, if you don't have QJ, yeah, she's going to be your main burn damage dealer, but these pair so well together, and she doesn't need QJ to be good, so to me, she's a 0.5. She can do a lot of damage on her own if you've built her up. So I definitely disagree there. Lada's still really good right now in the AoE capacity. She's definitely going to move down later, but really good there. Sabrina's really good, and they do have her at V0 here. I don't remember what they show her on the CN side, but we will eventually have her at V6. Everybody will, because every 2 months you should get another copy of her through doing the boss. And so she's good at T1 here, and then in the future when she's V6, she's going to just still continue to keep her value as you're able to get the dupes of her. Allred is still really good. To have her as core support, I mean, she's a generically, I mean, yeah, you don't really build around her, but she's not really, I don't have her, so I haven't really had the chance to really use her, but I know she's really good on the movements. I mean, that's the one reason I like Krolik as well, is being able to get around, hit units, going through. So some of the battles that require you to go all the way around to get to the enemies, where like Krolik and Allred can just kind of jump through it and get to them, they're really nice for that capacity. So I could see their support. You're not going to build around them, but they don't really, they're not really specific to any specific team. Same thing with Dayan. They can go in any team and work. Because I like Dayan for that as well, as she's just generically good in any team. I mean, you got a lot of the other units down here. I mean, Veple, to me, that's T1's too low for Veple as well. I haven't really had time to really build my Veple yet, but the content that I have used her on, she has been extremely valuable for me. I mean, I've built her over my Lada, and I probably never will get around to building my Lada, because I know Veple, I'll have more value for her in the future versus Lada. Especially as I start losing 50/50s and getting dupes of her. So definitely I'd say she's either up a tier, or Lada would be down a tier, because I put her above Lada in value. And then you have, yeah, Graza. Graza makes sense. Cheetah makes sense. Colfine. I mean, she's really, really good on the healing side. If you don't have a Suomi, I guess. But I think just about everybody has a Suomi. And I'd rather use something like Exina versus Colfine on the healing side. So I put her lower. Nemesis and Mosin Nagant. Yeah, I mean, they don't really have too much value for me yet. I mean, I have Mosin Nagant at V1. Mosin Nagant definitely wants a lot of dupes. She is really good with those dupes. But yeah, right now, she does definitely not feel as good for my team now that I'm starting to get all my other units built. And I'd actually, if I wanted to build her, I don't think I'm going to actually put time or resources into leveling up Nemesis at this point, just because I have Macchiato taking that role. But I would actually say Nemesis has more value than Mosin Nagant until you start getting multiple dupes of Mosin Nagant. Papa Shah utility, yeah, makes sense down here since this is the generic one. Generically not very good. I have to see, I don't know where she's at on the bossing side, but if you've done the platoon boss, you know that Papa Shah is extremely useful for at least that current platoon boss, because she has that summon that can trigger the condition that requires you to have 6 units on the field. I don't know how many bosses will have mechanics like that, but that is one nice thing about her, is that she does have a summon that can add an extra unit to the field if there ever is any conditions like that with bosses in the future. So good one there. Prydwen makes sense down here on the bottom on the generic. Generically, she is really bad right now. Now, I got a lot of heat on my last video of her girls Frontline because telling people to farm for dupes of Prydwen for future use, because she, to me, moves up significantly once we get Kluke, if you pull for Kluke, but you're going to want a lot of dupes to make her that good, and there's no way to really efficiently farm for her, and I would not want to use my standard rate up to do that. But right now, yeah, if you just have her at V0 and you've got her, she's not really good on a generic side of things, because you're not needing the AoE at the level that she does at this point. And without someone like Kluke to help trigger her on like a boss or something, which we'll see when we look at the boss thing, she's not going to be good there yet either. And I've not even messed with Latera or Nagant to really have any comments on them. So I think they're fairly good here. I mean, my biggest disagreement is probably going to be Sharkry at this point, and then Veple I'd probably put up 1-2, because I mean, I use Veple all the time on one of my teams. But overall, not too bad on that one. Now we look at the bossing one here. It does now, as you can see, yeah, Papa Shah got moved up, Sharkry got moved up on the bossing. But see, I think Sharkry's good generically as well. I mean, so it's the same thing. But she definitely, I will say, is really good on the bossing side of things. So that's the biggest chain, Papa Shah, because she has that extra unit, the trigger conditions. That's where her value comes in. It's not really her damage per se. I mean, everybody else pretty much stays the same here. At this point, Prydwen is not good for it at all, but she will be very, very useful for it in the future. I mean, she can get to QJ levels in the future. But yeah, overall, nothing really changed here other than, yeah, they bring up the Sharkry and Papa Shah, which makes sense. Though Sharkry, I'd probably put up with QJ. Below QJ in terms of value, but she's still a tier 0. If you don't have QJ, Sharkry's able to do almost as good. Not as good, but almost as good if you invest in her. So not too bad there. Let's look at the CN side of things. I have not really heavily looked at theirs, but there is the one thing, like I mentioned, I don't think they have it on this list. They have it on the bossing one, I believe. Yeah, the bossing one, they start taking into consideration dupes on the unit. So we'll go over that here in a second. Now, CN, we're not going to go over every unit here since this is all the units that haven't come out. I kind of want to look at the ones we currently have on the global and their value. So right now, generic, Macchiato, they still have tier 0. Makes sense. Macchiato is great. QJ, still great. Tololo, definitely now tier 0 at their level because of Springfield. And she's still good, but Springfield really amplifies her at this point, because especially if you get V1 Springfield, because it makes it where you can, every single turn, Tololo can have an extra turn, because she can really crank out those her skill points to be able to trigger her passive. And then I believe with Springfield V1, you can also, on the very first turn, you can have her have 3 turns, so she can get 2 extra turns. You can leave me a comment if I'm wrong on that, but I believe you can actually, if you set it up correctly, have 3 turns with Tololo on your very first turn if you have a team set up for it. Yeah, QJ at the top. I mean, this has Vector. Vector makes QJ even better. I haven't looked heavily into Andress yet, but I know she is really, really good on the electric side of things. And then, let's see, we're about to have Cinerisi. I'm liking that they have her here, tier 0.5. They're recognizing that she is way better than Exina now. Everybody says Skipper because Exina can cover her role. No, that is not true. You are going to want to get Cinerisi for your burn team. So I'm glad that they're at least recognizing that, at least on the generic one. We have to look at the boss one to see if they keep her at this level. But definitely good here. Then you have the newest unit they got, Chahua, or however you say your name. Absolutely amazing unit. And basically your Sharkry replacement on the CN side at this point. Although, for what I've seen with teams, you use QJ, her, and Sharkry all together, and you're just doing support actions like crazy on the bosses. So, definitely good there. I mean, Olred's still in there. She's still good. They actually have Olred higher than I've seen in the past on other lists. So, but yeah, generically, Olred's good. She can get around the field, get through obstacles, and do really good on clearing enemies that it's not specifically bosses. Definitely going to be, almost certainly she's going to be lower on the boss side of things. Yeah, Diane kind of loses some value down the road, although she is now getting her expansion key. I don't believe we know what it is yet, but she is getting her expansion key here soon, and it does look like they are going in the direction of buffing physical, with having some physical specific units. We've kind of already seen that tested with Faye, who is the newest standard unit, or standard elite unit that came out that you can get on the standard banner now. And she has something in her kit that specifically buffs physical damage. So they may be going in a direction to have some more people within the physical team to actually build around. We'll have to see how they're going with that. And then you just kind of see all of the... I mean, you see all of the standard units getting moved way down because at this point in CN, they have so many elite units that they just make most of the... standard units or purple units or whatever you want to call them have a significantly less value at this point. I don't like that Lena's this low though. Lena has more value than that, but I see where they're coming from on this aspect because a lot of content hasn't required the CC that she can really provide. Hopefully with their blog post that they have posted, it is going to become more valuable here in the future when they're adding more than just straight DPS checks on can you kill all these enemies really quickly or can you do a lot of damage to this boss. I want to see some more strategy where, hey, you have maybe 5 really high HP elite units, and if you want to be able to beat it in an adequate amount of time without taking too much damage, you have to start CCing some of them while you clear other ones. And then you can see value on units like Lena move up on this list. So overall pretty good here. And then we'll see on the bossing one, it just significantly changes here. And yeah, they moved her up on the bossing. I mean, they're just... The videos I've seen, and I do want to make a video kind of showcasing, because everybody knows how broken a V3 Kluke is with bosses. But man, does the burn team look really good with the whole team together now. So it makes sense here. They have Tololo. They're putting here on tier 0 with her V2, which I will say is your target for Tololo when we get the standard raid up banner. Because with your Springfield, which they have her rated at tier 0 with her V1. And the big thing between these two is with her V2 and V1 on Springfield, that's where I'm saying she's just going to be getting those extra turns every turn. So she's extremely mobile. She's basically like a Diane almost, but instead of having extra movement after her attack, she just gets 2 turns to do that extra movement. So outright great unit there. I mean, it has Vector. Everybody knows Vector's the broken unit for the burn team because it gives the extra support actions to your team. They have her rated at V1 because her V1 gives a second extra burn action. And with your QJ, Chahua, as well as your Cinerisi and Sharkry team. They all are just non-stop doing support actions with her, so absolutely makes sense to have her at the tippity top here. I have not looked too heavily on the electric side of things, so Andrus, I know she's good. Don't know her kit very well yet at this point. Kind of the same with Belka. Yeah, the Cinerisi, really good. I don't know why they rate her on her V1, because it's very... and maybe it just works a lot better now that you got Chahua out, because her V1 was something I was looking at skipping, but I actually may go for her V1. I just gotta see how the mechanics for it truly work. But she is definitely a must pick up for me. And as you can see, they are treating her still better than Exina now. So everybody that tells you to skip her, don't skip her if you're wanting to go into that burn team. She is going to be extremely good for your burn team. Make sure to pick her up. I would pick her up over Lena and Jianju, who are probably the other ones coming out after her. So we'll just kind of have to see there, but definitely a great unit. And everybody else, yeah, it's kind of there. I mean, it has Parita. It's only rating her at her V0 here, but I mean, it's rating Kluke at her V0 here, which is why Kluke is very good on the generic, because she can clear all the enemies really quickly. But if you don't have Kluke's V3, she is not good at bossing. And it's kind of the same thing with Parita. You want some dupes of her alongside a V3 Kluke to really do really good bossing damage with the corrosion team. But like I said, you don't have to go after that, because you have already broken teams. Like the burn team can out DPS. Like from what I've seen, burn team out damages Kluke at V3, and I believe the Hydro team looks to out damage the Kluke team on bossing at V3. So that's why I say don't feel like you have to get her V3. Kluke is going to be absolutely great at V0 for your generic stuff. She's just at V0, she's not going to be meant for bossing, which is completely fine in my opinion. And then yeah, everybody else kind of seems to be in their spots. I mean, Mosin Nagant, they're not looking at her at dupes, and that makes sense, because Mosin Nagant really wants her V6 to be very, very good, because her V6 is where she triggers her support actions based on electric debuffs versus breaking their shields. So yeah, now if you really like her, I mean, go ahead and start targeting her dupes on the selector. Just know you're much better investing in getting your Tololo and QJ dupes first, but after them, Mosin Nagant's the next one I would push to try and get V6, just because she becomes extremely good at V6. But until then, she is kind of bottom tier there. But yeah, overall, so far I do like it. I agree with it mostly. I don't know why bossing they have Sharkry down here so low on this list. I mean, from what I've seen in the core burn team on doing damage, the ones that I've seen that are doing a lot of damage are still using Sharkry over Pari on it. Because Pari's good at triggering QJ support actions, but it looks like you can trigger all of them with Auner, with Chahua, Sharkry, Cinerisi, and Vector. So I don't know. I'd put Sharkry probably at the same level as Pari there. But yeah, that is their new tier list. I think it's overall pretty good. I like how it's set up. And now just know that tier lists are not everything. You can make any of these units work. And I think there's a pretty good balance amongst all the elements. The biggest thing is, well, one, it's waifu game. Who's your favorite unit? Go over them and build around them. So if you like a certain unit, just get that unit and then build around them. Because as long as you have a synergetic team, it's going to do well. Even the units they have down here on the bottom of the list. So yeah, overall, I do like the direction they went with it. This does work out a lot better than their previous one, because it was a little bit harder to kind of tell on the value of certain units. And I actually do like that on the bossing, they are kind of rating based on some of the core dupes. These are the ones that you're going to see not only me, but other creators talk about when the units are releasing. When Vector releases, every content creator is going to mention you should go for her V1, because it's probably the best V1 in the game, in my opinion. And I mean, because it's better than getting a weapon in terms of how much value it does. Same thing with Springfield. A Springfield V1 makes Tololo absolutely broken. and it's probably the most affordable of all of the teams with the Hydro team, because Tololo's easy to get the dupes for with the rate up selector, and then Sabrina you're going to be able to get to V6. I don't know why they are rating Sabrina based on V0, because at this point in CN, everybody who's been playing since the beginning should have a V6 Sabrina just from doing the bossing. So I have no clue why they rate her on V0 here. But Hydro team is the cheapest, and they do a significant amount of damage, so definitely see the reasoning there. But yeah, man, this video's probably gone a lot longer than I really wanted it to, but overall, I do like the way the tier list is going. Just let me know your thoughts on the tier list and what units you are targeting or looking at getting. It's definitely going to be exciting as we get more units coming up here soon. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps, and thanks for watching.